Okay, thanks, everybody. We are the Executive Committee of Community Board One. It's June 23rd, calling the meeting to order at 6:07. I'm Tammy Meltzer, Chair. We've got a really robust meeting with a lot of things to be voting on, so we're going to try and be succinct and prompt. All right, first thing is 85 Nassau Street, applicant for retail dispensary for Diamond Star Group of the DBA Third Avenue Gardens. Did you have materials to hand out to the board, please? Then please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Reed.
So you're gonna have to speak
A
up.
little louder. And so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
loud.
ask you to sit down at the tables,
Right here.
right over there.
That's
Oh, you're teaching. Thank you.
And one with him, and then down the block.
yes. I see. You want me to?
Yes.
Yeah, and talk to the, I don't know how. She.
84 Nassau, between which two streets?
What'd you say?
Between which two streets?
Bolton and, I think, I'm not sure the much. Bolton and.
It can't be
Bolton
Clifton's.
Please, yourself nice and loud, the microphone's in front of you. And there we
It's on
go.
Nassau.
Daron and Pat.
Good evening, board members and members of the community. My name is Naeem Kassani, and I'm the applicant for the proposed adult use cannabis dispensary at 85 Nassau Street. I want to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to appear before you and for your continued service and leadership in this community. I come before you with sincere respect for the role the board plays in shaping the future of Ormond. My goal is to establish a safe, compliant, and community-conscious retail business, one that aligns with the character and expectations of the neighborhood. In speaking with residents, workers, local business owners, I've heard a shared interest in seeing a licensed, well-managed dispensary that offers professionalism, variety, a safe alternative to the unregulated activity that already exists in the area. This will not be a flashy operation. The storefront will be discreet and refined, designed to blend in with the built environment without drawing unnecessary attention. Inside, all activity will be fully contained with queuing, flow, and safety managed professionally and respectfully. We plan to hire and train a team of at least 15 employees, all vetted and prepared to operate at the highest standards. Security will be provided by a licensed firm staffed by veterans and retired law enforcement to ensure a calm and controlled environment. I understand that any new use in district deserves careful consideration. That's why I'm here, not just to present, but to listen. I'm committed to being transparent, open, and responsive. Today and moving forward, my hope is to build something that reflects the values of this community and earns your trust through action. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
So it's Bolton and John.
Yeah,
So you have checked off. I will have DJs, live music, recorded music. So, and you will have promoted events.
Mhm.
So,
If you have promoted events, that's considered a bite, so you should have a number of bites.
so what does that mean?
I don't know.
so like the promoted events or like vendors that, have like.
Yeah, no,
displays
I know that.
store. Yeah.
So you're just talking displays in stores and like, hey, today is a candy cannabis day. You're not precluding anyone from coming in for anything. It's not an exclusive bid.
Yeah, no.
It's just general promo. Kind of.
How much do you know about this location, or like the store specifically?
85 Nassau Street, it's apparently a Wendy's.
So, fun fact, it's not. They just moved out because they had a rat infestation, and it got shut down by the Department of Health.
Okay.
And they moved now like a block away or something.
Okay, yes, I heard they're moving.
Okay,
No, did you hear about the rats?
I did not hear about the rats, but I will be taking care of that situation.
okay.
Can't because you're next to a vacant lot.
I understand.
And also, it's like right up next to or above Subway. Yes, So, which also probably is contributing to that. So, all right, I mean, that's how you just.
You know, hire
Taking
a
it on yourself.
firm that, you know, takes care of that.
Well, we wish you luck. I'm not sure you know.
Yeah, really. We're warning you.
I am calling, does it have, ADA bathroom?
Yes, it will have, yes.
How many bathrooms?
One on each floor, one on the first floor and the basement. And, possibly, at some point it's on the third floor.
So,
Just tell us what each floor is used for.
So the first floor will be retail and, the basement will be, storage and like little office for employees and break room. And, well, I haven't really like,
expected.
expected the third floor, but at some point in time, if, the community board and OCM approves, I might have a consumption lounge there.
Are you planning on installing, additional like installation and soundproofing, so you want to have music?
Uh-huh.
And then
It will be
also,
light music, it will not be played outside.
okay,
But just like,
That's not
So,
the
as
point.
normal
but
retail.
it says live music, but no scheduled performances. Like how do you do
By
that?
live music, I meant like the music will be playing live, maybe a DJ, you know, might be playing, so that's what I meant by live. Nobody like actually performing.
It's not really live.
Isn't a DJ sort of performing, but also like it wouldn't be scheduled?
What do you mean by schedule?
Like,
Like you have a DJ from 5 to 9 at night. every
would
night.
you know about it before
Um,
it happened?
yes, I would know about it, and I would, like, they're more for like, the DJ would be more for grand opening. I wouldn't be having that on a regular, consistent basis, maybe like once a year, you know, just to promote some sort of, but not like every week or every month, you know, it's more like once, you know, like a year, or twice a year.
I think the biggest thing there is that we just want to make sure that like, it can't be curtained outside.
And it wouldn't be
Yes.
scheduled?
I have a question for you because you're within 1,000 feet of another one.
Mhm.
So the PCR waivers have not been approved yet, as far as I know. How are you applying for a PCR waiver under what? I mean, because
Yeah. I've submitted a PCA waiver to OCM and
why?
for the location, why? Because, well, the location is, you know, very dense. I think it will be, you know, good. It'll be good if there's not a dispensary to mediate the traffic and,
No.
The other one is within 1,000 feet and has barely gotten its legs off the ground to be able to determine whether or not there's enough support there. So my question,
One that's less than 1,000 feet away from the next big downtown.
Onesh, where is it? again?
Roughly,
One,
Some
the
people-
exact,
Yeah.
the exact location right now is 155. Isn't it close to a million?
The original address, this is the same block, the original address is 111.
So it's
It's
right,
the same
it's
building.
around the corner from this.
Open legal dispensary on Fulton and William right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Which is what
one block
my,
away.
Like a block and a half.
she's a.
well, 2 blocks, right? It's a bit further.
It's
like
close.
600
Are
feet.
we allowed to say 2 men, 1 out?
We can say that we don't agree with this location because the other one, it's only 500 feet away from the other, you know,
Isn't there a school a couple blocks away?
I don't think it's close to me. I'm concerned about all the college students that live there, but that you were really gonna be farting.
But does it count as a school? College?
I don't think so.
Not bad.
My staff will
Not,
be like,
not for this town.
very professional.
Yeah.
I'm using Delta Securities Group, you know, they hire veterans that retired.
Right.
You know,
It's harder-
cases like there.
It's harder today to do like these fake IDs and stuff, especially for stuff like that, because like they insert it into a machine to see if it's fake or not not visual technically.
Not like in my day.
Maybe not. Betty.
We approved status New York Holdings, which is 453 feet away from this. And they have not been open and running yet to know whether or not it's, you know, a viable location, whatever the case may be, how you want to call it, I mean, it would directly cut into their abilities to get their feet up and running. So I'm a little,
Or vice versa. cut into your-
confused, and on your PCR, you say, which you're saying your, reasoning is that takes over a half a mile of walking and driving on one-way streets and traffic areas between your location and this one. That's not true. That's not true at all.
Well, if you use Google Maps, it is, like it can be too far, maybe to walk, it's,
It's a walking direct line. There's no impediments to walking from point A to point B.
it's not a direct line, you have to cross a few streets to get there. Because
It's 453 feet.
the,
And on your strategic distance, you say it's 500 to 600 feet. So
okay, well, on the map, that's on OCM, it's off, it's not on the right corner, so the actual door is further than what it's on the map. It's a bit off.
That's actually true.
that's true.
But how much further?
A couple of feet.
Yeah, a couple of feet.
Like 560 feet.
That's a lot more than a couple.
And like, there are multiple, legal shops in the area.
Yeah, but you're trying to get there.
So I believe like, if I would be there, I would move them out. That would be a goal.
Nobody knows. Public doesn't know that you're legal.
True, but the QR code on front of the
Public
store.
doesn't. They're going in to get those roads there. Okay.
Have you looked at other locations in Community Board One at all?
I haven't really looked, but I didn't really find anything. It's been very tough to find an application.
You didn't go to the one that's 500 feet from yours that you seem to be aware of?
They weren't really available. I did check with the landlords, the brokers in the area. And the landlord on this particular one was okay with the dispensary. It is an issue with landlords. They're a bit.
No, I think her question is, did you go to the dispensary folks and talk with them?
Yeah, you,
Is that what, yeah?
Did I go
Is
to-
that what you were asking?
yeah, the one that's around the corner from yours. Did
They-
you go to that one?
they
You
were-
you were acting like you couldn't find one, but you already knew there was one around the corner.
Well, I thought you meant locations that were,
No, like other dispensaries.
not, I did attempt to go there, but they weren't open at the time, so I wasn't really able to talk to anybody.
So you tried to go there, but they weren't open? There's no one
They're
there?
not open yet, no. There was
They're
no one
doing
there.
construction every day.
Yeah,
There's people there.
I did go there. There was, like,
But there is.
I did see the construction stuff, but I didn't see anybody inside at the time.
The incident for the OCM to determine whether it makes sense for me. Seriously?
Well,
Supposed to.
yeah, that is one of the factors we actually do opine on, based on the community board. Although I will say I am rather concerned the fact that Chair Wright was, Chair Wright, who actually was providing really good progress and balance, is no longer at OCM as of recently. Chair Wright was extraordinarily informative for the community boards, knew the landscape in the district and helpful in terms of getting information. We've approved tons of them. And they were very supportive of working with us to get us information. So it's very disconcerting now because OCM is highly dysfunctional. Chair Wright brought a level of functionality to it and transparency, and they are now gone.
Well, in terms of, one reason I raised it, the distance issue, it seems to be one of the more professional applications.
So I think
Yeah, the lamps look
to
great.
answer, like further answer your question, like, yes, it's up to, I guess, OCM to kind of determine that. But that's also what the PCR waiver is about that he's talking about, because it's allowing for them to have more locations than the.
I understand that, but do we have a role in that waiver?
Our role in that waiver is to say something here. Teddy?
Can I ask, have you spoken with the company, the existing one at all? Will your products be different from what theirs are? It's being considered, so you talk about doing more low level.
So I did try to visit the dispensary that is opening up. I didn't see anybody in there. But there's over like 500 brands in New York State. And if you go like 40 SKUs per brand, that's over 20,000 SKUs. So like, it's a lot of variety. Taking like wild gummies, for example, they're one empty gummies. That's something I can keep. Or Blue Martin, botanical grills. They're very low in THC content. That's what I plan to offer in the dispensary.
But you can't say that that's complementary to THC level with other companies that have never stored.
Well, I'm not sure what they'll be carrying. Yeah, but still, their website isn't up yet. Like, there's still lots of opening up after. Yeah.
Any other questions in the room? All right, we do need to do a resolution on this, so,
Call the question.
well, what is the resolution?
What's
that we use for?
Down too much for one density, too much density.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, I feel a little bit bad for any entrepreneur out there saying, because like, that's fine, but like.
But also we're
we
supporting the
keep
other.
letting this happen,
No.
and this job, if this nexus, it will get to be like a corner of dispensaries, and then it will be too far in that direction, and it'll never come back. And unfortunately, that's why I feel like I couldn't group something like this so close to the side.
They'll also all put themselves out of business, because if there are too many of them,
Eh,
then that can make them.
somebody thinks stay in business, I don't know how, but
Yeah.
I just, they'll stay in business. That's the problem.
And it's more,
so that's, Jason's motion is for declining based on proximity.
If I may.
Before you speak, I know that general area and there are illegal shops there. Illegal, it's the more legal ones, the less illegal ones. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
You need to speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry. My thinking is because there are so many illegals in the neighborhood, I think there's a positive to having a professionally run legal shop that may help some of those others out of business.
Eddie?
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, if I had an objection to this at all, it would be that the opposition would be that simply the little bit premature. Depending on the others, that we don't know how much they complement versus the indirect competition with somebody just struggling to get started. So if there's a little bit of time frame to give them a head start, which they may have anyway, it's going to take just as long or longer to.
Yeah, I believe it'll take me a few months, like, 4 or 5 months to get started there.
the rats and the stone.
Well, I can say that area can tolerate some competition. But we so narrowed down how many places they can go because we have schools everywhere.
Sharon, Mimi, thoughts?
Yeah, Oh, I love the renderings. I think this is really well thought out. I think the location is certainly like a big question. But yeah. Looks beautiful.
Somewhat separate, somewhat related. What happened to the other type of smoke shop across the street that had some trouble?
Like the one you have to walk up to, maybe that would.
The one that was opposite side of the Wendy's, basically. Do you know?
Oh, I don't know.
You're talking about across from Southbridge Towers? the
No,
one that
the
rents-
one that was across the
I
street.
think that's got
I
shut
walk on the
down.
block all the time, but I'm not
I
like,
think that one got shut down because.
did it get shut down? And nothing,
Wait,
Okay,
this
so we
is
dealt
smoke shop
so
place?
you don't need to worry about that.
What's the process?
Where exactly is the other one that's 450 to 500 feet away? Is this Ann and
William
Fulton?
and
William and Fulton. Is it
There.
Ann?
This is between Fulton and John.
Yeah, and then the other
The
one
other
is
was
Ann.
between Ann and John.
He did say it's the old airport.
That's what I said. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. I mean, I think,
And as I was petitioning in the area, I did see 4 to 5 illegal shops within that same block. I didn't, that were there.
Okay, Brendan,
I totally get it, and generally I'm very supportive of Karen Fox, as she's already said, like, we've approved committee, so it's not in my backyard thing. But I think honestly, like, as much as we want to support you and your business, I also want to support the other business. And I do think that they need to get off the ground. I think that also helps us determine like how much of an appetite there is in that area. I think in a year, if you, and I know you don't want to wait a year, but if you came back and like we were like, oh, okay, this makes sense because it is a dense area, maybe. But I also am very nervous about approving this one because it does set a precedent. And so then what are our rules on all the other ones that do PCR waivers? And they're all going to say it's a dense area. Guess what? New York City is dense. But that doesn't mean like we need a cannabis shop every 500 feet.
Right.
So I'm looking for, instead of back and forth, I'm looking for direction.
I thought Jason did.
So no, listen, I have another, I mean, I think we need to expand the scope, 500 feet, it's not thinking smart, I mean, I know there's another one opening where the bar was. There's, but God, I know where these places.
Dispensary, La Flora, the
I don't
status,
think
they
they
had a
had
chance.
Unless you guys want to go to destination, I didn't want to go to destination.
No,
This,
no.
They did.
Well, then, I suggest you put down,
They were one of the first.
it's just someone that works with these people and
No,
very.
they had a location in
And
the
that's,
status.
that's happened.
And,
I
think
love
they
it,
had-
I don't know. No,
I think it's enough.
Hold on, Anej, go.
No, I was just pulling up the location, the photo of the location from where it is right now.
That's
I'm just gonna make one more point. I also point out that this is a very poor, like, test pool of what this neighborhood would respond to this. Us 12 people that are always here, like, it's just not a good, so that makes me feel bad. It's not.
It smells like pot all over that. It just.
No, I'm just saying, we're not representing the community here by just kind of like.
Jason, Jason.
That's fine, I'm
Just to
sorry.
remind the committee that, this site at Lepora, that was denied. It was denied.
Yeah,
And it's still open.
We denied it because of the school, right?
Oh, there was a school there.
Yeah.
The blue school was on the other corner. Maybe that's some
And
there.
the blue school closed.
yeah.
I'm not trying to push my agenda. So
This
I'm
is the added one.
I think in terms of, this has more signatures than we typically see, including from immediately next door. We're worried about what the community thinks. This is evidence of what the community.
So
Except
Here's-
the fact that no one is here from Southbridge or any of the apartment buildings that live here.
I understand that,
Come when there was a window and a lot line and now no one comes.
We've approved lots where everybody comes in and opposes.
So here's the question.
This is an unusual situation.
Yep. We are concerned about density. We are not a fan of the, within 500 feet. But we also know that there are legal shops that are in the area. Now, OCM does not care about how many illegal shops are in the area. That is not a factor that they use for determination. Because they're illegal, they don't count from their perspective. So
That doesn't mean it doesn't matter to us, though.
it does matter to us, they don't care that it matters to us. So there's something to know about that. I think that we could say that we do approve him. We have concerns about density, we have concerns to get the other person up and running who is an approved location. I would also put that we have concerns because the PCA guidelines are not final. And he's applying for a PCA waiver under guidelines that don't exist.
I would put all that in.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
It's an approval with these concerns.
Right.
Then they can deal with it.
And then you would have to agree, sir, not to do a on-site consumption without coming back to the community board first.
Yes, I would agree to that.
Because that is a totally different business model than a retail store.
Yeah, I agree to that. That's one of the, things that I was gonna be here for. And I do, if I was given a chance.
And the music needs to be not heard outside the store. So no open windows, no open doors, not heard outside the store.
Yes, there is gonna be a separation when people enter, so it's not gonna go beyond outside.
And you have a queuing area inside,
We'll
right?
have a hearing area inside, yes.
Okay, and you're not parking any delivery bikes on the street?
No, they'll be inside,
And you have restrooms that are handicap accessible?
yes,
And you have handicap accessible entrance?
yes.
Those are all our usual questions.
And then you're gonna have a huge construction site next year.
Yes.
So with all of that, with our concerns, no offense intended, but if we approve one guy, we'd like him to get up and running first and not have to be a direct competitor, coming out the door.
You did the other guys.
Yeah.
I made like if a Wendy's and a and a 7th Street Burger, and pizza, Joe's Pizza, and Two Bros Pizza can all coexist in the same area.
It's just, yeah.
Totally different.
But,
Well, and everybody hates the pizza shop that's on the corner.
call the question,
Oh, my.
Okay, so it's an affirmative resolution.
somebody has a second.
Second.
Okay,
Wait, which way are we going?
we're going for a yes
Okay.
with
caveat.
with caveats.
Love it.
I know Nesh has all those notes, right?
Yeah, I'll just put that video.
Okay. In favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? 6-3, and no abstentions or recusals.
Still have to go before the full board.
Full board is tomorrow. We'll see how that rolls. We do have more people who live very locally, and we'll see what they have to say tomorrow. But so far, we're 6-3 in favor.
Okay, thank you.
For a job, no means in favor. All right.
Right here.
Thank you.
Friend.
Yeah.
Impact.
Okay. All righty. Outdoor dining.
Hey,
Zona.
Excuse me.
Oh, do you?
Didn't we do that?
Dorothy's back.
So,
Dorothy's back.
so Zona should be here. Last time, they showed up around 7, so I'm gonna move on and see if they're gonna come up and they show up. We're gonna do, George James first, because that's gonna need to be a resolution that we'd like to get a little done first. And then we can do board meetings and we'll change.
And I also,
I'm keeping one. Thank you.
I have.
Here you go.
Thank you.
That outdoor dining restaurant that was supposed to get the shed, the structure taken down.
That's the one we're talking about now. Hey Tricia, welcome. Okay, you missed 85 Nassau Street, but you'll get a chance at the full board. Sir, do me a favor, can you give her a packet so she can look at it in preparation for tomorrow? That'd be lovely.
I can't be there tomorrow. I had sent you a note about it.
That's okay. Tomorrow, that's great.
Full board.
It's voting day and we will be out of that room by 8:30.
Have voting in the morning.
Voting. We're back on failing midday.
Where do you go?
I go there.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I gotta go now.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Okay, let's go. Forward.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Sure.
Later.
All right,
Okay.
George. Let's take it away.
Am I able to share my screen?
You should be able to, let's make sure, hold on a second. We're gonna make you a presenter, there you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, you should see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to, just to make certain, because the last time I had some issues, if I switch screens, you can see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, so it's working. Okay, so I am here today to talk about the Charter Revision Commissions. And yes, I said commissions with an S because there are 2 of them. The mayor and the city council have each formed their own charter revision commissions. And just a reminder for the public and those who may not know, the city charter defines the rules for the city of New York and how it operates. The ULURP, the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, is detailed in the charter. And the Charter Revision Commission is formed to develop recommendations for changes in the charter, which will appear on the November 2025 ballot. So it's happening right now. So why are we doing this? Real estate and housing interests want to streamline the land use process to make it faster and more predictable. And there is concern by some that the current land use process emphasizes local goals over citywide needs. The preliminary reports have been released. And I have a deck with links to everything, which I will be providing for you for tomorrow. So under current state law, so they've each of the commissions have released these preliminary reports, all right, but they're not done yet. Under current state law, if the mayor's commission proposes changes to the charter, the council's commission cannot propose changes on the same ballot. That's the way it currently is. But a couple weeks ago, a week ago, the legislature passed a law that will allow the council's commission to place items on the ballot. So the importance of the council's commission has just been elevated, but the governor hasn't signed that law yet, and she has to sign it by August 4th to permit the council commission's proposals on the ballot. So August 4th is when the proposals are due to the city clerk to get on the ballot.
Oh, brother. Okay, keep going.
Okay. The charter revision is about more than land use, of course, and the mayor's preliminary report. I'm going to talk mostly about the mayor's preliminary report or commission, because we know that they're going to have proposals on the ballot. I will spend some time on the council's commission just because there are some elements to it that are really interesting. But the mayor's preliminary report discusses these 5 topic areas. Housing and land use is a big part of it, but it also goes into elections and voter turnout, procurement and payments, climate and infrastructures, and the city map. We're just going to be talking about housing and land use today. The council's commission is broken up into these 3 categories, and they're actually really interesting, even if you're focused in on land use, but reading what they say about government accountability and budget transparency, there's some really interesting things there. But land use and planning is the thing that I will talk about a little later. The commission hearings, they've held hearings and they invited speakers. The commission identified experts that were invited to testify. They went first and they were given more time, and you could tell, like, who they invited and what they talked about was really, it was really important. And I'm going to name check the Citizens Housing and Planning Council. They were there more than once. They published this big long report about how ULURP's skewed political incentives prevent housing. And they really spell out their view of what needs to change in ULURP. And if you want to know what people are saying, this is a good report to look at. Most of the CHP's preliminary recommendations are discussed in some form in the mayor's report. There are still hearings going on. The next Manhattan hearing is on July 7th for the mayor's commission. But again, ballot recommendations will be produced shortly after July 7th, and they're due by the county clerk by August 4th.
We are voting tonight.
Right.
No.
Additional hearings have also been scheduled for the council's commission. Thursday, there's one tonight. There's one on Thursday, and the final hearing is on July 1st. And then they will accept written testimony up to 72 hours after the last hearing, which is because that's July 4th. They've said that they'll accept it to July 7th. And so to remind everyone, this is ULURP. We're not going to go through it. You're familiar with it. And the mayor's commission preliminary report summarizes concerns and possible solutions. It doesn't have specific recommendations. It's not saying we are going to propose this. What do you think? Right? What it does is it gives you it summarizes the feedback and the issues that they've heard during the process. But then they summarize it into these 7 buckets, and I'm going to quickly go through these 7 buckets. Fast tracking ULURP, roles within the land use review process, categories of projects requiring ULURP, the new role of a zoning administrator, comprehensive planning, fair housing, and the 10-year capital plan. There's a discussion of member deference, and then modernizing the city map. So number 1, fast tracking ULURP. The mayor's commission discusses the possible changes to ULURP to reduce process costs and to facilitate certain types of development. It introduces this idea of different levels of review. Large projects take one path, small projects take another path. There have been only a few small residential rezonings where the density was less than 40% increase, less than a 40% increase. which the commission blames on the cost of ULURP, or at least that's what their report blames it on. And they're suggestive that if small rezonings had another path, we might see more of them. Also suggests streamlining the review of categorically beneficial projects like 100% affordable housing. But when you try to get into the details, what makes a project categorically beneficial other than 100% affordable housing, it's unclear. And I also think that local review and ULURP can make categorically beneficial projects better, or at least ask that question. Can you make those projects better? Okay, and then as part of fast tracking, it introduces this concept of zoning administrator, which I will talk more about later, as a mechanism to review projects that qualify for the fast track treatment, projects that are small, crucial, or categorically beneficial. Suggest different review procedures for housing developments in districts that fail to meet fair housing targets. So very important. The city council is going to be passing this fair housing framework, and the fair housing framework will set housing targets by community district, 5-year housing targets by community district, and will be used to likely justify future upzonings in the area. And so the city will be evaluating proposals and perhaps even having different land use procedures depending on if districts are meeting their fair housing targets or not. It's a very different way of thinking about these things. The roles within the land use review process. So the commission is looking at amending the roles played within ULURP, enhancing or otherwise changing the role of officials like the borough president or the speaker of city council, and consolidating the advisory portions of ULURP from 90 days to 60 days. And then there's moving the office space acquisition applications from the CPC to the comptroller's office, which is a council recommendation. And then neither commission, this is very important because I think this is misunderstood in some places. Neither commission suggests changing the community board's role in projects that still qualify for ULURP, that still come before you. No one's saying you should have less than 60 days unless it's perhaps a small project. So if you have a significant review, no one's saying that you need a less than 60 days. But the categories of projects requiring ULURP is something that is being considered. So projects that qualify for ULURPs is really the place that we're most likely to see the significant changes. The report suggests a new process for zoning changes related to climate and infrastructure, and another process for public land. And this is a quote, just to get kind of a sense of the theme of it. ULURP's one-size-fits-all procedure forces the city to spend scarce time and resources on exceedingly modest changes. And it's true. Some city properties are tiny, just inches wide, and to dispose of them, the city needs to go through ULURP, the same uniform process that it does for a site that's many acres. And there's this recommendation, or at least this idea of streamlining disposition to activate public land for affordable housing and other uses. And there's truth to this. For another project a couple of years ago, I made this map, and the little red dots here are all tiny bits of publicly owned land that the cities have owned for over 30 years. And if it wants to dispose of these assets, it can only do it through a ULURP process. Okay, number 4, a zoning administrator. Zoning administrator was a part of the 1961 zoning recommendations, but it was never adopted. They are commonly found in other jurisdictions, but their powers vary widely depending on the place. I actually pulled up this from the archives of the American Planning Association, a little white paper on what a zoning administrator is, the concept. And so it's a very old concept. The Mayor's Commission describes the idea that certain zoning changes would not have to have a full ULURP, but would not have to have ULURP at all. Would instead go to the zoning administrator office. And these actions might include small developments up to 6 units and 35 feet in height. Other small changes or possibly variances, like maybe a commercial overlay or parking requirements. I'm not sure how much this would apply to your district, but this is something that's being discussed. The zoning administrator would be entirely new mechanism, replacing some land use and or board of standards and appeals actions. But, the report has no detail on how this role would impact public input on these actions. Like, for example, if it goes to the zoning administrator, would the community board still see the applications? Would the zoning administrator hold public hearings? It may be a small action, but if it's right next to you, you may want to testify. And what is the mechanism for getting your voice heard? It's completely unclear in the materials.
George,
yeah.
I'm just going to stop to say, that sounds like something we'd like to comment on, because we need to be able to make a list of stuff that we're commenting on, because full board is tomorrow and public comments have to go in. That would be a concern that I would assume the community board would want to comment on.
Yeah, okay, right. And so just so you know, Tammy, how this is going to work is I'm going to go through these 7 and I'm going to give you some thoughts, and then I'm going to pose questions to this board, which you may want to actually, I've told Zach I'm going to take good notes to the answers to your questions on those. And we can maybe, I'm going to provide those to Zach, and he's going to help you work that into something.
Yeah, we're going to make it a little bit easier than he even thinks. Keep going.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. So, comprehensive planning and fair housing and the 10-year capital plan. So the Mayor's Commission includes language on elevating citywide needs in the land use process, which to me suggests a city plan. It discusses the possibility of a comprehensive plan, which was introduced by Brad Lander and Antonio Reynoso. And it doesn't dismiss it, but it couches it in this very careful language. It then examines the idea of imposing fair share housing requirements, which we see in other jurisdictions. Suggests that the charter capital planning process may need to change to ensure that investments in infrastructure, transportation, and neighborhood amenities are made in concert with new housing. As you may or may not know, a lot of investment in neighborhoods accompany neighborhood rezonings, but they're done through a points of agreement because it doesn't fit in very well into the existing capital planning process. The council's report is more interesting, as it really does embrace the idea of comprehensive planning, fair housing, and it's exploring these ideas of new 197A community plan rules, requiring DCP to create 197A plans, or to assist the community boards in the creation of 197A plans. So right now they do neighborhood rezonings through this kind of, ad hoc planning process. But no, they're saying, do it. We have a process for it. Do it according to the 197A plan process that requires the community board to work with DCP on that, which is very interesting idea. Requires agencies, including community boards, to incorporate fair housing and housing targets into their planning processes, and then explores the charter amendment to increase the number of votes the CPC needs to disapprove applications approved by the community board and the BP. So introduces the concept of supermajorities. If they're to override the community board and the BP. And then if the governor signs the new law, these provisions will be on the ballot, but it's unclear whether that's going to happen before August 4th. Okay, number 6, member deference. So the Mayor's Commission identifies member deference as this barrier to development in certain areas, and balancing the citywide needs versus local priorities. Member deference, I think as most of you know, is the fact that the local council member is afforded deference by other council members on land use actions in their district. But member deference is a city council convention and not a charter mandated process. And there are no specific recommendations for a charter amendment because it's not part of the charter. But there are these vague suggestions as to changing the role of the city council speaker and the borough president. You know, they have this picture of Peter Vallone and how it used to work in the old days, right? And it's harkening back to try to suggest that the city council speaker could have more power over the local members. And the last one of these is modernizing the city map. This is part of the city map. You may or may not be familiar with it. It is essentially identifies street widths, curb elevations, easements. We used to call it the borough president's map, and because it is controlled by each of the borough president's office, and they have different standards for maintaining the city map. And it suggests this centralized management of city map and giving it to DCP. And then a citywide digitization of the city map. Some of the boroughs still use paper maps for this. The city map changes, including like changing curb elevations, are ULURP actions. You see changes to the city map when people want to vacate streets or raise the elevation of curbs for resiliency. It comes before you. And the question is should they be? It's, yes, you want to have a modern city map, but does the community board need to see everything that involves the city map change? And so the next couple minutes I'm going to spend on commentary, what I read this and what I think. So there's this focus on ULURP time, all right? But ULURP time is small compared to the pre-ULURP time. So ULURP is the set time period of 7.5 months. Pre-ULURP, before you even get to ULURP, often takes years before ULURP starts. But pre-ULURP is not dictated in the charter. So the Mayor's Commission acknowledges that pre-ULURP is an issue and it's very long, but it focuses on ULURP because that's in its control. But, the reality is that ULURP changes cannot have a major impact on these timelines because ULURP takes a minority of the time. Further, some of the comments are so general that they're inaccurate. So for instance, I'm going to read, this is from the report. Today, ULURP frequently requires the same costly multi-year process of environmental and land use review for a new 8-unit apartment as for an 800-unit apartment building. As such, ULURP actions tend to be for big changes rather than small ones. So that's just not true, right? Small actions have small application requirements. There are many tiny land use actions that happen all the time. The report suggests that they cost applicants as much as the large actions. I can say emphatically that they don't. This one was to expand the a C15 overlay 45 feet. This was to change parking requirements. And the bottom one, the Lincoln Square District, I wrote that. I wrote that for a community-based organization. I know it didn't cost very much because I know how much I got paid. Now, I will say the process, the pre-ULURP time was 4 years, right? That it took forever to go through the process. But it's, small actions have small application requirements, but they can still take a long time. Okay, so there's no discussion of increasing review times for very large projects. You don't see very large projects very often, but neighborhood rezonings will get the same amount of time as the extension of a commercial overlay, at least today, and and no one's really talking about changing that other than maybe shortening the amount of time a small commercial overlay would get. City of Yes for Housing Opportunity was a non-ULURP action, but it did follow ULURP's timeline. And that, I'm going to say, that 1,386 pages of zoning text could have used more review time. Bigger actions do require more time if you want them reviewed well. The Mayor's Commission focuses on speeding up the process, especially for small projects, but what about the larger projects? And the Mayor's report, I think, and I'm biased, shows little appreciation for how projects can improve because of local input during the process. And then there's this long discussion on member deference, even though it's a custom, right? The final recommendation may involve some process changes that attempt to weaken member deference. There's this focus on impediments to small projects. Housing Opportunity, City of Yes for Housing Opportunity largely eliminates this issue in the R1 through R5 districts. And, you know, I have questions on whether this focus on small projects, at least the small residential projects, is still necessary with those recent zoning changes. And I think it's very important to understand the zoning administrator's role, its powers, and if applications to the zoning administrator will still go to the community board. There's a lot of questions I have. I mean, it's an interesting position, but what it does, it's still relatively open. And then the council's commission focuses on planning, revising the 197A planning rules, and linking planning to fair housing. If they can get on the ballot, their proposals are extremely consequential, and they could really change how we do land use planning in New York City. Okay, so here's some questions I'm just going to throw out for the board, which you can take all at once or you can answer in between. One question that's not really talked about is what changes could help community boards do their job better, right? This is not a topic of discussion in the mayor's report. It's all about how do we do things faster? What about doing your job better? And what, you know, should it be? Should we be talking about what do you need to do to do your job better? Do you have opinions regarding projects that qualify for community board review? What do you want to see? What don't you want to see? You know, are there things that come before you that you're like, yeah, we don't need to be seeing this? Would it be okay for some? Yeah.
George, let's start going through this and let's start getting some stuff on paper.
Okay.
For how it relates to this, so we can do a resolution on it.
Awesome.
So when you, for example, the commission recommended a switch from 90 to 60 days, does that?
Right, that would be making the, yeah, let me explain what that means, is that the borough president and the community board would have concurrent reviews. You would each share the same 60 days and come out with your proposal at the end instead of sequential reviews.
That makes sense. Do we have 90 days now? I always forget.
No, you have 60 days. You have 60 days, and then the borough president has 30 days. The idea is instead of having 60 plus 30, you would both do your job at the same time, 60 days. So the borough president would get 30 more days, and you would have the same 60 days you already have. The thing is that, you know, in my view, the borough president often, not always, but often, you know, echoes and strengthens the position of the community board. Community boards often influence the borough president's position. And what would happen with concurrent reviews is that wouldn't happen, right? Because you would both be done at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we feel about that around? Because that's something that's specific that we should be commenting on.
I disagree.
That's a disagree, disagree. Okay, so we're gonna say we're against that.
Okay. All right.
I mean, because I got to majority. I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Don't have to rationalize it.
8.
Oh, and
Okay, there we go. So, all right.
Could we recommend, I don't know, like shortening the borough president's review to like 15 days, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, the problem isn't the 90 days. I mean, they're gonna say 30 days out of a 7.5 month. So the process,
Yeah.
where it's the
Yeah.
pre-ULURP, it takes the most time anyway.
And quite frankly, we have the borough president's land use people often helping us on things, so
Yeah.
it's, yeah. Okay, so we've got that one. We think that, I don't think personally 60 days is enough time to do our job right now, me personally, because we don't have assigned land use people at every board, not every board. We were very lucky for a very long time to have a land use, person. We do not currently, and so it's a little on the pain, no offense, George, it's painful.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely painful. Let me ask you a question on that, Tammy. What about more time for bigger projects? So right now
Well,
you
let's-
have 60 days if it's tiny or if it's enormous, right? And what do you think about varying amounts of time depending on, if it's 1,000 pages of zoning text versus, a simple map change?
Betty,
Is it more time, or is it having expert consultant?
it's both.
Well, I know it'd be a lot quicker for us if we started on the basis of getting some professional advice on what it is versus kind of struggling around to figure out what all this means.
Okay, so I definitely agree with you, having professional advice,
And have less time for smaller projects.
less time for smaller,
More time for larger.
more time for larger. And Jason has a really good point about better public notice, right? Better public notice, more sharing of information at a more timely manner.
I have a question. Does larger always mean more complex? Or could you have a complex, small one that
Yes.
is just so problematic that it's, people's hair is on fire over it, and they're gonna say, you said this small, and like as of right thing that would rattle on forever, but as of right, why would that?
So the thing that came to mind when we were talking about small is that you look at what they have defined as small, which is 35 feet and 6 units. Right? Think about that building in Tribeca that the city owns that they wanted to get rid of.
Right.
I think it is currently 6 units and 35, but it has the ability to build bigger. We wanted them to put some kind of affordable housing in there, even if it was SROs, to be able to get, a dozen units in the neighborhood versus 0. And they were unwilling to do it. They just wanted to sell it.
Are SROs allowed here?
What?
Are SROs allowed here?
Oh, yeah.
So wouldn't that be a bigger project though? Because is it what it currently is or what it wants to be?
George, is it what it currently is or what it wants to be?
What makes it
It's
small?
it's relatively it's vague. I mean, I think it's what it wants to be, but not what it currently is, but what it wants to be. But I will say that it's not very, very specific.
Should we also just generally comment on the fact that a lot of this is still very vague and not clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I may, like for instance, you have a project, Independence Plaza, where they plan on putting up a 900-foot building, which is considered a minor modification to the large scale plan and exempt from ULURP, right? That's that's that they're calling a small project, and you're not going to be asked to weigh in a ULURP process. Is that something that you should?
That's what Two Bridges,
That's right.
those big projects, they were minor modifications too.
Yep, you're
Right.
right.
So can we add something about some language around complexity instead of size?
Yep. So instead of saying less time for smaller, we're saying that there should be more time for larger and or complex.
And controversial.
Well, they
Because
don't.
they might not consider it complex.
They might not know.
Complex is hard to define.
They won't know if it's controversial or not.
Yeah.
How would they know if it's
Well,
complex?
complex, you could say how many waivers are required, I mean, be 25 waivers or special program, I mean, that's complex.
Well, they don't need waivers for your town of Greenwich.
that's fine, that's a separate project, it's unfortunate.
They
don't
did.
all hate that, but.
They did. They waited until the existing rulings expired. There were rulings in place that needed to be renewed, that they said nothing about because they didn't want them renewed, because it would allow them to build. That was kind of the funny thing. Betty,
Also pick up the historic districts where again, sensitive areas where you would say.
Right.
"Oh,
How can we put this all-
different."
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, the one thing I think is kind of rubbed me the wrong way was this application that came a couple months ago for that telephone building, where they're like looking for some concept so that they can trade like air rights. That seems like a workaround that maybe that's trying to be sussed out here, and I don't think, like, the way that came to this committee, whatever it was so off-putting, and it's like not the way that things should be done, you know what I'm talking about? And it's like, we're just here to have you guys commit to approving some axon drawing with no anything. It's not about humans, it's not about, it's about axons. It's like, what are we
Yeah, you're right.
doing in our free time?
Yeah.
Pre-approving big scale development. So if that's somehow in here, George, we don't want to do like pre-application level work for volumes that require zoning special permit ULURP actions. Is that something that's being pushed here or normal or something we don't want to see going on anymore?
I don't, you would see special permits. I guess maybe, are you saying that you want to see more detail in the special permits?
I think it's very creatively deceptive to bring lawyers in and present pre-approved zoning envelopes for unworked out buildings, and it's actually seems to be a new phenomenon
I
I've never
see.
seen before. So like, you know how like when you're in ULURP or when you're working on a pre-app thing and they're like, well, we really actually need to know how high the parapet is, or we really need to know what the use is, or this is just like, no, how can we just get a maximum envelope thing approved so that I can have a bank underwrite some business transaction void of any sort of roots in the community, it's like, we're not given anything to opine on, because all they say is, this is actually just some figurative drawing that's conceptual, that's only used for transient air rights, has nothing to do with, can you skateboard on the thing, can you put a tree here, is there gonna be a fire hydrant? And it's just ludicrous.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, I think, the nature of the requirements of the special permit drawings. They are essentially volumes, and they do have some detail, but probably not enough as much as you want to see in it. And I don't think that's necessarily, that would have to change the requirements of the submission requirements for special permits, which is not part of this.
Gotcha.
okay. George, what else do we have on this?
Yeah, let me, okay, so what about the roles within the ULURP process, right? If the borough president had a bigger or smaller role, would that be okay? And then the concurrent reviews, which we've already talked about. And then some of the changes, when you're reading the mayor's commission, they really want to diminish the role of city council. They want to remove, so you're going to still see a bunch of things, right? It's just fewer things, the small things won't go to council anymore. And is that okay? Is it okay if, the last stop in some of these smaller actions is either the zoning administrator or the CPC?
And who appoints the zoning administrator?
The mayor.
Of course.
I that is a big open question to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you alluded to this, George, earlier, and I only quickly read through this portion of the Charter Commission report. But fundamentally, what the report is trying to do here is reduce the member deference, the effective member deference, the NIMBYism that generates.
Yeah.
And recognizing that it can't change the way the city council chooses to conduct its own business. I think that's the motivation for reducing the role of the city council.
Yes.
And increasing the role of what they describe as citywide offices that are, they presume would more likely have a broader view of things, so that every project that comes up that involves development in some place in Brooklyn doesn't get rejected because they don't want any development in that local council
But-
district.
Okay. So the
Very well
question
said.
that I have, the question that I have for the group, I'll state, everybody has to figure out how they feel. For me, I think we vote as citizens for the people that we put in city council. I think the point of member deference is to represent the people who have elected them to the city. Yes, we elect a mayor. Yes, we elect a borough president. However, the person who's most closely tied to the people of our district are our city council representatives, our assembly, and our senate, right?
I pretty strongly disagree with that,
Okay,
but I mean, reasonable people can disagree,
but the
but
community board is advisory. No matter what happens, our role is not,
we have a complication to the city as a whole, not just to our little NIMBY backyard.
actually,
Actually,
the community board is required under city charter law to consider what is best for its district, not city overall, is for your district.
Then
We
that's
agree
one reason I
on
guess we're advisory,
That's, we're advisory anyway, so it doesn't make a difference, but we agree on many things citywide that, we supported and we have gone
every
forward.
local community can veto a project of citywide importance. That's not good government, that's bad government.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, is it though? Is it, if they were putting in a, medical waste facility, because it's for the best for the city and our district, and the community who lives around it does not want that, is that,
Well, then where are you gonna put it? Every other community will veto it as well.
maybe not, but you should be able to have the opportunity.
It's like
The
the borough
opportunity
major
just
stuff.
needs-
It's definitely like that.
Well, and I think that's also a good example.
Tricia,
I can come up with at least 50 examples from my time on the board where there would be actions. I have so much respect for you, Jeff, and I understand what you're saying in terms of big picture thinking. But I can come up with so many examples where we had things that the borough president was in favor of and the city was in favor of. But unless you had boots on the ground and you're here day to day, watching what is where, we've had so many things like this come up, and I do see it as our number one job. This is the community board one. And we're the only people looking out for this community. Everybody else in government is looking at the city. And so I see it as a huge, well, I mean, here's a great example. They wanted to put a Pink Summons Court across from the Odeon, and they wanted to put a residential building next to where the Pink Summons Court is. There is, unless you live here, you don't understand how fast that federal area turns into the residential area. It's not so much a NIMBY thing as it is appropriate positioning. And I do think there's always space for those kinds of things. I think what we see a lot is we see the convenience, we see choices of convenience for realtors and city agencies that would deeply affect the day-to-day lives of the people who are here. So I'm very much in support of city council having the control and the voice to support and protect us.
Let me just clarify. I agree with almost everything you just said. I think it is our role to advocate for our community. That's different than having a veto power, and what the commission report is talking about is member deference. It's not saying the council person can't advocate for the district. It's saying the council person shouldn't be able, as a general practice, it's just how they operate currently, but haven't always operated this way, that as an absolute veto of something in their district, ignoring the needs of the city as a whole. And I think that's a close call. But that's the motivation, that is a primary motivation of one of the objectives of this charter agreement report is to reduce or eliminate.
Well, I think the reason we went that far, if I'm gonna jump up and over that, is to say that it has gone in the other direction so much. And this is what happened with my resolution. is that you have to be so much stronger as a result of being mowed down for 20 years that you
Correct.
find yourself making choices in a different way. That's what I think we're doing here. Should it be necessary that the city council has veto power over the borough president? No, but is it necessary? Yes. From my experience,
I agree.
17 years, I've seen it happen over and over. I came into this game with, good faith all around, hearing people out, going to the negotiating table. We were mowed down. And I have to say that, we've got a city government, even the borough, on the borough level, that is like a big fat bull. And our city council members are still tiny reindeer, and so if we can give them a little bit more, luggage to take this journey with, I'm in favor of it. I have to say, I really am.
I would agree with Tricia on that, because
I've been
from all the things that we've talked about and done, I also think that there's language in here that I find really concerning, fair share. And the reason why I say that is we are a fully built environment. When they talk about fair share, we have heard about fair share shelters, fair share housing, many, 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 many different things. But who determines what the fair share rules are comes out of City Hall. And fair share and emergency housing are different. Emergency orders are different. They violate fair share. Sometimes they do, they don't. Fair share was used for migrant shelters, homeless shelters, has been used for many things that have been both positive in helping humanity and negative in other ways. And so I think that when we're looking at the new lexicon of vocabulary that's being used, the community needs its opportunity to be able to say yes and say no and have their elected officials support that. The borough president does not vote necessarily with what is best for any particular community. And I will say that based on the last 3 borough presidents voted
Absolutely.
with and against the community board on enough times that you think borough-based jails, 250 water, I mean, I could think of 1,000 other things, right? So I don't think that the system is necessarily broken. I think the system is open for wide interpretation, and that is what the good governance is supposed to be for me. So when it says, should the bigger or smaller role, would that be okay? I think the roles work the way they are designed. The borough president has a slightly larger viewpoint. The community board has a more targeted viewpoint. And in the middle there is our city council person who's looking at the district overall.
District.
Right. So they're looking at CBs 1, 2, and 3. We're looking at 1 the way we should, and the borough president's looking at things. So I think everybody has a role to play in that. I wouldn't want to diminish the city council because I don't think the mayor makes decisions that are necessarily based on the interest of the communities versus the interest of the elected office.
I agree.
Okay, you're right. That's it?
No, Betty has something.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see that, maybe that person, since you had to go to that thing.
Okay, well, if you want to tune into the meeting, tune in online, not here. Tune in online. Okay, sorry, that was Mariana, on the wrong place. Go ahead.
Said, but where I draw the line is member deference. I mean, it's fine if my council member represents what my district wants and whatever else is under their district. But my representation collapses to other people in council and does whatever their district wants. Now I draw the line and say, wait a minute, how can we do fair share around the city if this place in Queens decides they don't want to build any more buildings? They want to stay really condensed, small, single homes, 2-bed, no expansion, no housing, no shelters, no anything. There is a point where the city council member, once they're voting its deference to other council members, that's where I draw the line and say, they're not representing me. They're representing the voters in that district.
Okay.
I think that depends on who you,
I think that depends on who you vote for.
That's right.
you gotta go.
I think it depends on who you vote
Member
I think-
deference, but I'm not sure the charter revision is going to cure that.
They say it.
And yes, and so maybe it's a throwing up the baby with the bathwater to try to deal with it in the charter.
And remember, we have had member deference vote positively and negatively for our community.
Absolutely.
There has not always been,
Remember our prior city council person, which some of you may or may not have agreed with, who voted one way. Margaret, yeah, Margaret,
Tower.
my neighbor.
So, yes, you guys see eye to eye.
We did.
All right.
In the elevator.
okay. Brendan,
I'm just gonna say the kind of silent part out loud, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't support this at all. I think it's way too general and we don't have enough information. I think what we know is happening here is that the current administration honestly probably has real estate and developer people in his back pocket, and that's why they're pushing this.
Yes.
And this is also an administration that is likely about to go out of office, like, knock on wood. So I would in general suggest, like, I do not support any of this. And especially for it to actually make it on the ballot with a bunch of generalities. So.
this is why we're doing a resolution. All right, I don't think you're wrong in any sense of what you said. Okay, city, council's commission,
Yeah,
should,
right. They suggest reworking the 197A plans. Does everybody know what a 197A plan is? We haven't done them in a long time.
yeah, well, I mean, because they're painful and long and you can't like make progress. The community board has a working group we're trying to get off the ground because we want to do zoning changes, but we
Yep.
want them to be based on community planning. And quite frankly, what the Department of City Planning told two other boards in the island of Manhattan who came up with the planning and rezoning, go shop it to a developer. We don't have time to help you.
Yeah. Right. And Tammy, there used to be a lot of 197A plans and planning processes that DCP approved. They're still on the books. They were all done in the 90s, right? When DCP had a different attitude toward them. And what the commission is saying, what the council's commission is saying is that they want to go back to that. They want to go back to the idea of locally developed land use plans. And I think it's really interesting as somebody who believes in local planning and the power of local planning. The idea of putting that into a formal process in the charter and also requiring DCP to follow it as well. Meaning there would be a local planning process that not only the community board would have to follow, but other agencies would have to follow as well. But it also would be a lot more work for community boards. And how would that work get done? There's a lot of unanswered questions there.
Well, that was going to be my question. If we're not given budget for staffing or creating a plan, we're all volunteers.
Right.
But that's the point of saying, if we're gonna do this, we should have, like we had with Jeff, they have to increase our budget, so we have the expertise to be able to do it. Michael. That's right.
All right, so for the city council commission for 197A, we are saying, we like more work on the 197A, but we need support, and resources.
Right.
Okay, and yes, we 100% want to do our own local land use. I mean, we know that.
Okay.
Yes.
So those were the questions that I had, and we can.
And then, yes, the public hearings is something that Jason was talking about. The public notification, transparency, participation by the community is really important. Because as we've talked about many times, most often the public doesn't know until the bulldozers roll in. So any kind of public transparency, notification, and I'm not talking about notification posted on some register somewhere in the back of the Daily News. I'm talking about notification to a community board, period, with advance notice and timing.
Because even if they do put it in the paper, they should send a separate notification.
Yeah.
They should notify the local council person and the community board that it's in reference to, period. And that goes for everything, including EISs and everything else. It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. Okay. All right, so everything that we've talked about, we will be doing in resolution. George, you don't have anything next, right? This is us, we're done?
This is it. Yeah, this is it.
Great. So with all of the discussions that we've had, with all of the notes, George is synthesizing with, Zach tomorrow, and it'll go out as a resolution. It will include everything that we've talked about here tonight, which includes, we recommend the 90 days, so 60 plus 30. We would like professional advice. We would like anything that needs more time, that is large, complex, has more variances or multiple applications would be considered large, and we would like more time. Better sharing of notice, more advanced notice. We need to be clarified. There's a lot of vagary in here with a zoning administrator that has zero details of what their role and responsibilities, how they work with the community or the city government. So this could be just adding a layer of government that might not be necessarily needed versus having someone at DCP who works with the community boards and helps usher it through faster. There's other questions.
I think what their intention on the zoning administrator was
Let's,
a person that would deal with these so-called simple things that don't deserve Bueller, but they're very general in defining whatever those simple things
They are.
are.
Exactly.
As well, it gives a couple of examples, but it's
And
not all clear what is in and what is out.
and Betty's point that it could be small and complex, so you don't want to lose sight of that.
Right.
Not
Two
just
Bridges
big.
was an excellent example of that.
Yeah,
We do not want to reduce the role of the city council or the borough president is
No.
planning on that. Fair share is a word that does not necessarily have clear connotation. Who determines what it is? How does that work? That's by council district, not by community board, but again, that needs to be, we do support infrastructure process requirements versus having it be a private negotiation with the developer at every point. And we'd like to do more community planning. We would like expansion of 197A with support and resources. We'd like to be able to really do a deep dive to be able to change our neighborhoods. The city map. I don't think we had a lot of conversation on the city map. I mean, we'd love to see the city map.
It's a good idea.
It's totally terrible. You have to go through the borough president's office every time there's a new borough president, it might be a new person, it's got.
Oh, no, it's there forever,
I
man.
know, but Hector may not be there forever. That's-
So digitizing the city map would be great.
Let Hector be there.
And I'm okay centralizing.
Yeah.
There should be a head, and I would actually go back and support exactly what Jason said. Hector is the one responsible for all the city maps.
In Manhattan.
In Manhattan. And he knows every street. So he needs to be an integral part of the digitizing and perhaps even lead it, because he understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Work with them.
He has the most detailed records ever. The coolest place to visit in the city. If you're a
It's
master.
in this bill?
Yep. All right, does anybody else have anything else on this? With all of that,
On the question.
questions
Second.
called and seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, thanks, George. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
No, she was voting.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's kill that. All right, awesome. I don't know where Zona is.
It's just, this person we're waiting for.
Yeah,
That's outside.
I'm not waiting. All right, we have an issue for July 29th.
We do.
We do. So
Birthday.
Wagner Park's reopening date is July 29th. I tried to get the Mayor and Park City Authority to, they cannot. Because technically where our full board is usually the fourth Tuesday of the month, unless it's a holiday, and then it falls on the last, we are at the 29th. The problem with moving it to the 22nd is we're booting transportation out.
What about the 30th?
28th or the 30th?
We could do the 30th.
It's the day after. It's a Tuesday, so.
It's a Wednesday. A lot of people don't like Wednesdays, but.
But it's our last meeting in the month.
Principal.
Okay, that's funny. A lot of Susan calls like Wednesday.
Let me ask you this, have we,
One.
That's
for the people who've been on the board longer than I have, has this ever happened before? Where we didn't hold it the last Tuesday in July?
Yes.
And what do we do then?
Nothing. It's always, the reason why it's the last Tuesday in
I
July
understand.
is usually because we don't meet in August. Unfortunately, thanks to New York City's DOT rules now, we'll have to have one meeting in August, which. No. Because we won't.
So what happened that?
What, transportation?
That last Tuesday in July? Did we,
Last meeting to that count.
Yeah.
did we move it to the day before the day after or something?
July calendar. No.
I'm fine with.
Yeah, I'm
I
fine.
think it's the 30th.
I am
I'd like
happy.
to go to the
Do
back
people
door.
like Mondays more or Wednesdays?
Is that for your birthday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
All right, this is, I'm just gonna share the calendar and let's figure out what we want to do. We also will need to change the October calendar due to holidays, which we'll be doing shortly.
What calendars we can get up?
Okay, so here we are. This is July. And we moved some stuff around because it's terrible to meet the first week. And nobody wants the Monday right after because July 4th is, yeah. So we've got Battery Park City on Tuesday, licensing and permits, landmarks. The one that we moved around, unfortunately for Betty, is obviously transportation.
So we have the 28th or the 30th.
Right.
So.
We could do the 24th too. I don't care. But it's up to you guys.
I won't be
Right.
around.
All right. So, I mean, if we want to keep it the same week, we can do it the day before or the day after.
Let's do it the same week and do it the day before the day after.
You guys tell me whatever works best for all of you.
Well, is that, common Mondays, is that,
What did you say, Benny?
Mondays are bad for Zach.
let's just do another attempt to go the day after.
Do a Wednesday, the 30th.
So, I don't know how this works.
Oh, here.
Could we, and I know this might be a headache for y'all, so you might want to listen up, office. What if we held transportation on the 21st as well, not together with environmental protection, because they always have lots of stuff going on, but could we just do it in a separate place and record it?
I actually wondered whether Benny wanted to do it right before Zach
Grand quality of life.
or quality. That's up to you. Well, I don't know what kind of agenda you have.
We have a lot of overlap with.
I would like to do a free fair committee and get an update for the end of the month.
We can do it at exact on the 17th.
Well, no, I mean,
Well, let's see what works.
Why don't we, what's wrong with doing it the last week, either Monday or Wednesday?
I would be doing it Wednesday, but to be real honest, and I am not important here, I'm trying to consolidate this, because it's summertime, and I'm tired of all these meetings.
I'm
So-
on the West Coast that last week, so I didn't want to influence this vote, but I won't be there the week of the 28th either.
I was. I'm trying to go.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because we got to meet once in August anyway, so I'm like,
Betty, what are your thoughts?
Whatever. I'll just have to come from remote.
I agree with you.
I'll be.
A lot of different people for the items. That it may be nothing, it may be very difficult meeting. I really don't know because it's, I'm sorry, what?
Patty,
Why don't we meet on the 24th then?
what can we do?
we could do.
We're throwing out all options, but.
Wait, which one are we talking about? Transportation?
So I was thinking, if we move transportation to Monday or the week before, then we can have full board on the 22nd.
I would move transportation
Oh.
Tuesday or I would move back to Monday.
Yeah, you gotta remember, she's gotta deal with DOT. Do you have a lot of topics yet for?
He doesn't.
It has to do with different street problems. That's why I said, different presenters from the community have to come forward and actually do it.
Right.
Getting them to make commitments. All of them say, I don't know yet, and I'm still gathering support. So it's very up in the air. I have lots of topics from lots of complaints, but none of them will commit to, I will do it, and I will do it on this day. I have no commitments.
Oh, that means you could just change it then.
Change it.
Well, no, I could just like cancel.
Oh, I mean, if we want to do that.
But make no sense, only because transportation, DOT could come up with something, 40 days of comment that needs to be heard in July.
Since we don't meet
Could you do
it.
the 22nd? Tuesday, and then
So I said, I'm the 22nd, or we move to the Monday.
Oh, and then we could have the
And
monthly
then
meeting on the 23rd.
23rd.
yeah.
All right, so first we have to find space. Remember, that's always the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me 3 dates and I will, Lucy will check tomorrow. 7/23 is one, and that's if transpo goes over one day, right?
7/28.
I think we're.
7/28
No, that's
is
7:30.
a Monday.
Is it always like?
I can't, I'm not being with y'all this late on Monday in the summertime.
Monday's the back,
Or would you want to do Thursday, the 24th, and just
Yeah.
not, not the whole thing?
Yeah, I never 24th or the 30th.
I'm sorry, why do we have to find space for what?
I'm fine with the 30th.
Why?
Like, we
Why
don't
are
have
we
to
doing
do
it
on
on
Mondays. It's okay with you.
We have to ask you, this is not ours, we don't own that space, we have to ask them for permission first.
But they know every month we use it.
Right, but they have the 29th on hold for us.
Oh, you have to ask if we can change.
Yeah.
The 24th or the 30th, okay?
24th or 30th.
But wasn't Betty moving to 22?
Yeah.
Have to take
That's why-
23rd?
Yeah.
Well, that's where you say we have to see if the.
Ah,
Yeah.
We have to see, we have 3 dates now, 23, 24, or the 30th.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I thought you said 28th, not the 30th.
No, we're just forgetting Monday, we're doing the 30th.
23,
That's a consensus.
The 30th.
Yeah,
Wait, which one?
July,
July.
So 23, 24, or the
Because
30th.
Yeah.
would be on that day.
23,
Okay.
24,
Full
or
board.
30th.
Okay,
Full board would be on the 30th or the 24th?
It would
Either
either
one,
be
either
23rd, 24th, or the 30th.
we have to see whether the borough president has space for us, because they actually do rent out their room. We're not the only people in the world.
Are you in?
Why?
What's that? All right, so let's do rule change for Department of Transportation for dining with dogs.
I guess.
It's Department of Health, that's right.
I guess.
Oh, hold on.
He did you.
I think we could make it. Sorry.
The only thing
That's
I
fine.
got we have they asked me not to aggravate. Last week, so we just don't have like the dog for others.
Are you sure?
I know I did go back, Peter, but no, I don't know, I did.
All right, hold on. We'll work
I
ahead.
want to talk to you about this.
What?
I gotta leave it.
I mean, I know people love their dogs, but there are a lot of people afraid of them.
Yeah, I know, but dogs are allowed to walk on the sidewalk. Why can't they just eat with their owner for a little bit?
Because they're not sitting there, and there are people who won't come in.
Okay, relax, people here.
The-
All right.
Instead of sitting outside.
Let me just double check.
I don't think.
School is.
Yeah, make sure it's on here.
Very, very.
Late.
School stuff. That's the most-
Once I brought up.
I have these different.
I don't think that what you would do is you should use some better comment.
It's outside.
Hold on, guys. Betty, we have the Department of Health for the outdoor dining,
Yes.
which is the same one that we copied off and sent around for everybody.
I know, but I really got some details that these things do not have.
Really.
How would you have that?
Can't be fashion.
Is this, is this the email from 5 days ago? Is that the one?
Yeah, we definitely.
Okay. Can you do me a favor and invite me?
I have no access to do it.
Hold on a second. Let's see.
It says the 25, it's 26.
Chapter 5, title 30.
It's like you over you.
Okay, but that's still, so they're
That's
gonna do teacher hiring, so.
Proposal announcement.
No, a lot of stuff.
So we have amendments to the rules printed, and we have,
It's never been before Labor Day.
and the chapter 5 of title
It's
30.
been earlier than Thursday. So
I do not have Betty.
you can look at that.
Anything.
Turkeys are terrible and I would bring them to outdoor dining. There's a lot of dogs for very.
Material.
Actually, my turkey would go.
We're dining with our dogs.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this, it's not part of your June PowerPoint, right?
I do it every night.
I was in a operation where like Like, we're talking.
It is kind of cute, they all come to
Talking
the
to each
restaurant
other.
and the dogs.
And
all
their
go
kid
to
is
the table.
standing on the table,
I really.
rubbing ice cream
I like it.
onto the window.
Benny, I apologize, I don't have anything that I was copied on.
You weren't copied on.
That's, they know, it's just that. Oh, yes.
Yes.
They,
Yeah.
It was.
That's beyond.
I mean,
Okay.
Most people.
Right, Betty, if you find it, just send it to Renee and let's kind of,
And I'm still, okay,
It went directly. to
that's
Google.
outside. Oh, they're just so cute.
Doesn't send me a copy.
you don't have a Google Drive link on that? All right, so let's, yeah. Let's,
It took me so much trouble to make these slides. I sent all these things a week in advance.
you just gotta copy me on them. And Onesh is the one in the room, so it's best. Yeah, I'm covering today.
I know, but nobody told me.
Copy me. Exactly. Okay,
okay.
so, go ahead. Let's go over this because everybody has
Yeah.
there are two rule things that come simultaneously on this. There's a
Where's that?
Department of Health. It's
It's only a department. And then.
so what is that one? Yeah, that's one, and this is the Department of Health. There are two different.
Oh, it's right here.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, no, we got copies.
Oh.
We got a couple.
I just passed one.
Apparently a WebEx,
I didn't think.
That's all. Okay.
July 18th WebEx.
But did you have this?
New.
So this is part of the hearing that we're talking about for, what they're proposing. So this is, a hearing that'll be July 18th, which means we have to pass our resolution this month in order to testify next month. Keep going. All right, so the deadline for submitting comments is that same day. Go ahead. So what does the rule do? It authorizes you to be able to have your pets in a sidewalk cafe.
Dog. Yeah, you can't have a python.
No ferrets.
No cats, no ferrets. But it also now proposed to amend the definition of outdoor dining area, and
Because the law was.
that's right. So it goes on. I mean, there are a couple really good things in here when you take a look at it, because one of the comments that we always have is under this rule, outdoor dining areas allowed, that will allow dogs to maintain a 36-inch aisle of space between the tables. That's actually awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I'm not clear. Is it all around or is it just on the aisle of it? So that's why I asked that. Check that, because, well, exactly.
Those say-
It says meeting tables,
So,
so
but how do you interpret that?
That's an aisle.
Only the
That's like the least.
one aisle which they talk about, or they really need 36 inches
All around.
the table?
That will
But
cut
it
down
doesn't
all
say-
their tables.
It doesn't say that in here.
so
Which is why I
let's
said-
take some notes and ask those questions and make those
Well,
comments.
I'm going to point that out.
I think it's.
So if the question for the table spacing,
So the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the questions again with their rule.
Does that mean,
What does 36 inches mean? Well, 36 inch
around every,
buffer area, is it all like 360 degrees all the way around the table? Or is it only the aisle space, the service aisle?
It says aisle.
Well, what does that mean?
Says between tables.
Yeah,
well, you have between tables here, you have between tables there. Is that a-
That's, so it has to be both.
No, it's not clear at all.
But you have to ask the question.
I was gonna say to clarify, it's not clear at all.
I want to talk about the single-use disposable container.
It also talks about the restaurant has to, can say yes or no. They all have to take service dogs. But so we're talking about other dogs. I don't only talk about the other dogs. They can say no, but there's no real negative way of transmitting it. If you say yes, you have to put up a sign that says we accept. But if you don't accept them, you don't have to put
Right,
a sign
sorry.
saying you don't.
That's,
So the absence is no way of telling people, I can't bring my dog in
right.
because.
It should
they
say,
can't.
should clearly say no dogs allowed.
Right, they should have to have a sign the same way at the entry point. Because I have looked, and I'll tell you personally what happened to me, which made me very serious.
Okay, so
Tell us.
not only clarification, but also a clear signage that dogs are allowed or not.
Not allowed into the establishment.
Right.
Because I was walking along, it happened to be Macy Street, but there are a string of restaurants along there, across from Brookfield. Place.
Yeah.
And a dog came out from the dining area across my path, had a 10-foot leash on. This never said the leash has to be. It just says the leash is tied to the table or tied to
I
the
think
chair.
there's a separate regulation.
Mhm.
They're tied.
I see no general.
Yeah.
I've always been, almost been run down with like a leash like way out.
Yeah, but you should not be able to have a 6-foot leash on a 36-inch aisle. Then your leash length should be 36 inches.
And probably not, but they're not understand things. Because they don't want conflict of dog on dog or dog on patron or dog on the servers. Because they can fix them. The whole point of
New category.
it is really short because they're not allowed in this part of the dog.
So leash length limited to not,
Well, no, so it wouldn't be a leash thing. It would be more about what the owners require to limit their dogs have access to in terms of distance.
Right.
Because we can't have a 3-foot leash. I don't have a 3-foot leash.
No, you know, that's under the table.
they're talking about tying it off. You're tying it off.
But mine doesn't even do that because of the type of leash that I have.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a matter of you have to control your dog.
yeah.
Could you say like only dogs that would sit under the table are allowed or something?
Mary, honestly.
No, but it says dogs must sit under the table. But people with
Like
bad
only,
dogs.
only dogs that are not gonna
If they
be,
move another.
be near anybody else's table.
No,
If they
but
stay
that's-
under the
I don't
table.
know.
think there's any way to restrict a dog, either with their equipment or just, with inches. I do think it has to come down, the onus has to be on the owner.
Mhm.
Do I have the kind of dog
Well,
that will
we
walk in
can't,
and sit
We
down?
can't make
that
that.
would be too general, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you put it on
That's
the
why I
owner,
think
that
no
if
dogs
they
allowed.
are outside of that space, that they must leave,
Well, I think that restaurants should reserve the right to, like they can ban bad customers, they should be able to ban bad customers with pets.
But they don't know if it's a bad customer until they've had it.
It's only one, you know,
That's how life is.
so that's
But
all
I'm
I
saying,
Control.
they start out
Right.
with no dogs allowed.
But this says they have to
I'm
stop
sorry.
serving.
It's
This
fabulous.
says what, Betty?
People said they have to stop serving if the
They don't put your dog over.
customer isn't compliant with the request to control their dog. When they
Yes.
requested, they have to stop serving at that point.
I think that's reasonable.
I think that's very reasonable.
So I do, stop them serving.
What was that?
It's not kicking them out, it's just stopping service.
Not kicking them out, just saying, stop serving.
What does that mean, stop serving?
Well,
It
there's
means
no.
literally, they can't order more things. I can't order another drink, I can't order another appetizer. Well, that's her point, is she's saying that they can finish the meal.
I'm allergic to dogs. I mean, this is too much.
All right,
I'm not talking about dogs. The rest of the night.
all right, no, so all right. Are we a yes or a no to approve this? Well, let's do a straw poll around. I'm fine. Are you a yes or a no to allow dogs in
He's
outdoor dining?
allergic to dogs.
I'm allergic to dogs.
That doesn't mean he doesn't want to vote yes or no.
I don't know. I'm saying-
Okay. Straw poll. I'm a yes.
It feels like a real vote.
I'm
Straw poll.
No, no, you would do this.
I'm a no. I'm a firm no. Let's go on with dogs being allowed to be in restaurants, grocery stores.
Only seven stars. I'd be indifferent. Sure.
I'm a yes. I'm a yes. Thank you. The more the merrier.
Well, that's because all the dog owners know how to control their dog.
I think you're pulling the wrong thing, respectfully. Dogs are allowed in outdoor spaces in restaurants, and I don't oppose that. I oppose this rule has many holes in it that need to be fixed. Community boards can't use this to do anything with outdoor dining and control the requests that come to us. Why?
Yeah.
Because they don't have to tell us if they accept dogs or not, because they don't post anything on the door that says they do or don't. They don't have to. There are a lot of restrictions here, such as what does 36 inches mean? If it's all the way around the table, then obviously what we're gonna see from the diagram is very different from 36-inch tile. And why they have to do this, they even say in here that the DOT, and I checked it, does not say anything about a surface tile. Obviously they have one. Why the DOT says, I would put that any kind of resolution too, the
So-
DOT should say something about.
Wait, I thought they did
So,
say.
They do not.
With service aisle.
So-
They do not, because it is-
Tell them
okay, so make it a requirement that the restaurants must notify both DOT and the community boards that they will allow dogs.
I think more importantly, notify the public by putting a sign up.
Oh, that's already here. Put up a clear sign if dogs are allowed or not into the establishment.
Well, I think the DOT should require it as a
then-
mile.
And also DOT should require
Service aisle. Don't they? No, they don't.
service aisle
Hold on, Betty, slow down just for a second, because we
It doesn't
incorporated.
have to be
we-
said.
Yeah, they
just-
did.
Just
They
let me
did
say
that.
something really fast. Like, when we talk about the barriers around the table, we talk about where the service is going to happen,
Because it has to happen in,
That's what they-
inside of that space.
and you can't, like, serve people on the sidewalk.
This isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about what we already vote on
No, no, no,
when
no.
we're approving outdoor dining.
The Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is saying. we
can't,
have
Rob.
to be Relocated into our department rules, so the DOT does not have rules like this in their rules.
So
So
we
what are we
will,
talking about when we talk about?
hold on, it's okay. We're just gonna narrow this to this. And we're
Vicky, I'll
gonna
put that
say,
hand up.
Vicky, I'll come to you in a second. DOT should be required to detail service aisles and update information on if dogs are allowed or not in outdoor dining.
They have nothing to do with dogs and outdoor dining, that's not their purview.
But
But
this,
they
is-
still have a service aisle because
Right, but they could have the information as a checkbox. Are you going to allow dogs? Yes or
yeah,
no?
I think they should be aware
Right.
of that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Vicky?
I'm just going to say that if no dogs policy is voted, restaurants will lose an enormous amount of business. We're already sitting outside. Life's complicated. We need our pets. And we're not going to patronize restaurants that don't permit animals. And we're always talking about increasing, financial well-being of restaurants. We're outside, it's a public space, and come on, they're dogs, they're not like bears. So we will not frequent them.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I think actually this works well because it also then requires DOT then potentially to kick back and do aisles. So I actually think it's a win-win, me personally, but Jack?
Dogs are already allowed in outdoor cafes.
That's right.
We're not voting on a rule on whether to allow it or not.
Thank you.
We're voting on whether we like the particular amendment. And it kind of sounds like we're reinventing
The wheel,
thing
yeah.
though, because all this deals with is the fact that now that there's a new definition of outdoor sidewalk cafes, it's conforming the old rule
Yep.
to that geography, and we're now throwing in all these other
Yeah,
issues
I-
that go
I've
to the
changed
basic.
my-
Wait, is this,
what?
correct me if I'm wrong, sorry.
Eddie?
That this does bring up some issues that require some clarity for community boards to implement the seating and request for that, because 36 inches, they need to clarify.
Well,
They need
that's
a
the one,
service aisle.
that's that one issue.
Okay, so we have that on here. I
And it's
noted-
fine. I'm saying, so.
And what,
No.
I noted all those concerns. Brendan?
I just wanted to confirm / correct some language. Because we're talking, I thought this, when I first read it, because I read it before I got here, I thought this is more about like the roadside seating, like experiences, not sidewalk.
It's both.
Both.
Okay.
It's both.
Sidewalk unenclosed.
Because they said, as Jeff says, you can go places and
Right.
people have their dogs on the side with 4 road bed. at the site, if a restaurant allows you.
So maybe that's where the confusion is coming, because they might not have wording about an aisle for a sidewalk, because we don't deal with a lot of sidewalk aisles in our district, but they do have it for roadside seating. like
Well, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For outdoor dining.
Yeah. All right,
have-
so
Okay.
we're not arguing whether or not they're allowed, because they already are. Table spacing, to clarify, the 36 inches, is that at 360 degrees around every table or only for a service aisle?
Well, I don't like tables with dogs. Because again, they may designate one table to be the one for dogs and think it's
Only tables with dogs. Okay.
That doesn't mean every.
Put up clear signs of dogs are allowed or not
I
at the establishments.
Can we suggest having some tables that are designated not dogs?
He's allergic, he doesn't.
I'm not taking away the flexibility for restaurants to do this. They just have to have the flexibility to be able to place that table.
Yeah, but I mean, it's,
Stop, 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 stop,
that's
stop,
a
stop.
good idea though, and as a compromise for people that don't want or
Be
are
near
allergic to dogs or afraid of dogs, it could be nice to have an option to sit in a part of the outdoor dining that does not have dogs.
And restaurants are allowed to do that. And that's clearly in.
But that's,
They can do what they want.
DOH doesn't mandate what they do or don't on that. Like a restaurant can choose that. This is just saying that you have to have certain spacing. So if you have 12 seats outside and only 2 of them have spacing, those are the only 2 that have dogs at it because the other 2 don't qualify. And that's where restaurants came from.
But you can't, like, the Department of Health could possibly say that they need to have a section outside
Anybody know?
that.
Because we have limited time period.
And they said that's not
Would
their
it
role.
be, like, don't we say
That's not
stuff
their
in
role.
our
I'm not getting it.
about stuff?
That's restaurant.
That's restaurant.
Okay.
Because what they're
Sarah.
clarifying is, since dogs are allowed, this is what they say you need a round door table for said dogs.
Protect the servers.
To protect servers and protect things. It's not about,
But can I also say to have some tables that don't have dogs?
These rules do.
They say you can do whatever you want. They can have one, they can have all of them, they can do whatever.
it's, the rules are, the restaurant chooses.
Okay.
Yeah, they,
The rest is choosing this 36-inch spacing thing, so why would?
There's no spacing requirement, they're putting a requirement in.
Well, what I'm
for
saying is, can we
health
put
and
in
hygiene.
another requirement? He's allergic to dogs.
That's true.
We should think about, that's a health
And-
and hygiene thing.
And, dust.
Don't bring dust or cats.
I mean, yeah, I
Oh,
don't.
rats.
Then you could put that in there.
service guinea pigs.
The places that do allow dogs accommodate people who are allergic to dogs.
Okay,
Yeah, let's use that language. Call the question.
second,
I like it.
You know, RJ.
yes, we do.
I don't know why we're weighing in on this. I'm thoroughly confused.
Okay, so, the table spacing, clear signage, DOH works with DOT to show service aisles and updated information on applications that go to community boards. Length of leash is a concern. Make it a request that restaurants notify if they will allow dogs or not, and suggest to have a non-dog area to account for those with allergies to
Or why is it the dog area instead of a non-dog?
whatever.
Not smoking areas. What's the old nomenclature?
That, I'm gonna do a vote by affirmation. Is there anybody against this?
Yes.
Are there any abstentions? Motion passes.
Oh,
We're
no.
not- Stay
Wait,
going for it.
Thank you. He's fine now. All right, so we've got that. Okay, Zona. Here's the issues we've had with Zona. We're gonna put up Zona and then we're done.
Built
Okay.
greenhouse house.
Zona has gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and revised. DOT has finally given us their revised applications. It's like the 3rd or 4th.
This is the one with the outside.
This is the one with the outside edition that they're checking, still with the Department of Buildings, whether or not that was legal, because there was paperwork that we have seen on file that it was not approved by LPC and there was Department of Building fines for it. I don't think the current owners and leasers of the restaurant who took over that space knew any of that, because the fines were pre-COVID. So they still have to deal with that. And we will put that objection and concern out there. So they have 3 bathrooms. as listed.
Well, I looked at this too.
Oh, that's just put up their final revised, it's this sidewalk or road bed and both. This is their final revision to both. It's insane, I get it, but here we go. So,
Where'd the dogs go?
Wait a minute.
I looked
So,
at that
again,
too.
Brandon, go look at this.
Why
the
is
wolf
this
frame
here?
they claim, because it's removable, and only holds the awning
Are you talking about on the roadside or next to the building, on the sidewalk?
next to the building on the side. Their frame is removable, therefore that is legal. However, they still have to go to landmarks about the awning and the flowers, because they have nothing on file from landmarks, so they're still gonna have to deal with that. Right? There's a floor that they've added, and they said the floor is significantly damaged, the cement is dirty, and there are issues with the floor level. Additionally, the sidewalk will look deteriorated if we don't clean or use a proper base, which would reflect poorly on our business. However, we plan to clean it and make any necessary repairs. So they've added a floor for their sidewalk.
Like a platform
It's on a platform.
What?
for the tables.
What do they do? They're essentially saying that like the sidewalk is deteriorated.
Yep.
And it's not level, so then they can have seats out there and that sort of thing.
Correct.
What if they got the floor in the street?
No.
Why don't they just get it repaired? They have it covered. If you see, take a look at the flooring. They have like carpet there.
Mhm.
Hold on, the help.
Uh-huh.
It's,
And then here, this one.
carpet.
Like, stop your other stuff, and share. And then share again. Okay, so this is what they currently have.
Aren't they potentially worsening the sidewalk by having that?
I think they did already. It's with their problem.
Trying to like say that it's something else.
On the cover.
So they want to keep the grassy,
Mhm.
the astroturf. I mean, I think the dog can.
They want to keep the astroturf?
Green stuff, tired.
You wanna keep something, they wanna keep the sidewalk covered because the sidewalk is not in great shape. So they feel by having the carpeting over it,
Oh, no, I think
I
that's.
smell the dog urine.
right?
Yeah.
So, they're granite sidewalk.
I'm sorry.
I don't wanna do that.
They pressure wash the sides.
I think honestly, the issue is probably that if they remove that, they can't put tables and chairs out there comfortably because of so like. Uh-huh.
Correct.
If they put a rug there, that's not gonna keep it uneven.
They say the floor is significantly damaged, the cement is dirty, and there are issues with the leveling of the floor.
I think,
Well, so the grass is coming up and wood is going down?
no, they want to keep what's there.
It's
Okay.
astro.
It's like a padded carpet.
Carpet, it's
I
like
think
a
that's
carpet.
one under the astroturf.
There is, right, yes.
So they're asking to put what?
Nothing.
We're saying,
We're commenting, because
Why are they
according to sidewalk rules,
because they
That's
want
not legal.
sidewalk and road
They
bed
get
dining. They have many
Okay, on
complaints.
this matter?
Yeah, well, the thing is, one, there's,
Brett,
I'm just repeating back what I've heard, is one, this is not approved by landmarks and it's clearly within our landmark district. They have all this stuff built up. and
Yeah.
My guesstimate is that they've gotten very used to it, and so that contributes to their budgets. They are trying to get sidewalk cafes that they now have to go through the right steps to do it. And we've been trying to get them to come and talk to us. They haven't, and they haven't shown up. And then they go back and forth on what's actually allowed, what's not allowed, all this
How long
other
is
jazz.
this?
This
This
built
whole thing
up,
with the roof,
it's built up stuff, it's been, yeah,
COVID.
they need a landmark.
right.
Take it down, time to take it down.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I think they said they had to
They
do
need to
Take it
clean
down.
the concrete.
We don't care.
The
The
sidewalk.
whole thing.
I don't even have the concrete on that same
and
stop
then
it,
they have to
especially because
redo
it's
the
sort of huge,
sidewalk.
like, granite, because it's just that area.
They just say now. Cleans their sidewalk.
We should fix the
I
sidewalk.
know, but that doesn't tell me. It's not there. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I walk by this twice a day. It is an eyesore. It causes a traffic jam. I believe they also have a roadbed.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're applying.
Imagine all
Can you
of
show
the people
both
on the
please?
sidewalk have to do this. And both of them are so run down. I have to say, and they're nice people. But the
Yeah.
whole
Yes.
thing needs to be raised,
Thank you.
okay?
Yep.
And they have to start over, and I don't understand carpet outside, I never have, I never will. I think if they want to put down a piece of wood because it's not level, I can sympathize with that, but raw wood, totally good.
No,
And-
that's not
That's,
necessarily.
they have to just do that.
Well, I think, because some people have it though, we can't really prevent a piece of wood if you.
This is,
Can we?
take a look.
It's off, it looks like, I don't know, a gadget.
If you look it up on Google Maps, it's like, you can really,
But Jason's right about landmark.
it's really bonkers.
And also, to be
And
honest,
it's got air conditioning, that's it.
so you probably say this too. The roadbed one, they mostly use for storage of their seats and
Yes.
stuff.
And
It's not for
rats.
people to
I've
eat.
seen rats and trash in
Oh,
that space, it's gotta go.
No, that part, whatever they have there.
Right, it's coming down.
And they
Okay, good.
can't have a carpet.
No, so whatNej is saying has to go is the roadside seating that's up right now. That has to go.
Yeah.
But they're gonna build something else that's more in line with what the rules are now. That's what they're asking.
Great, let's get rid of the carpet.
But the
No,
question
so
is,
that's not related to that.
sidewalk.
That's, then the DOT is gonna have to open that.
That has to come down.
That has to come down.
It's a structure.
But what are we doing?
Telling them you can't say
Well,
that.
I mean, our role here from the two committees that they've been. through.
I say that
Your
we,
role
um,
is, your role is to vote
Take
on
it down.
this
Which is-
situation here.
So that question,
DOT is going to be in charge of the type of approving the structure that they're gonna build section of this, right? They have specific requirements that they have to stay within for both the sidewalk and the roadway, right? We are voting on this configuration. Do you want them to have this sidewalk? Do you want them to have this roadway? Do you want them to have this much seating? Because these are benches with umbrellas. DOT is not allowing them. DOT is not allowing them to have, to put the
Covered.
carpet. Because it is, it's cobblestone, and so they're doing benches instead, with the umbrellas. That's what the circles are.
So those are like picnic tables
Yeah, they're like picnic tables
with an umbrella over it,
with an umbrella.
and they can seat maybe 4 people. What are these?
They own the picnic tables already. They
Okay.
have picnic tables in their room.
So it's whether to approve this configuration, right?
And then-
But you're voting on it separately. You're voting on this part as one, and then you're voting on this as the
Oh,
second.
There are two votes. And
And
sidewalk.
then this is.
On the side, roadway. Is there enough space between? Is there an aisle to serve?
No.
There is 3 feet.
So those
between
are all
two.
the things that,
No, this does not count,
right,
This
so,
is not
so
an
right
aisle.
away, they're not in compliance.
right? This counts.
They're gonna serve from the curb.
You're not allowed to.
Right, to serve from between the,
Well, we
Some
know
are
that,
not in
but
compliance.
from between.
But
they
they-
really don't do things by.
They
by-
need 3 feet between those tables.
If you look at the Nash, do me a favor, use that, because online, it's hard for
Okay.
people to see,
Yeah.
but you use your mouse.
Is there a way to highlight the mouse?
Yeah.
So, I have to make.
Not the scale.
So they can come in and serve from within here,
Right.
right? If the service stands here and they serve over there.
It's supposed to have an aisle.
There,
Look,
right?
There's
Take
no,
it that space.
there's no aisles.
just the
There's no
aisle.
aisle for the picnic tables, are too long.
Honestly, I would recommend not approving, because just from like respect, they're not here to explain this.
Yeah.
They're not getting our feedback, so we don't know that they're gonna do any of the suggestions that we talked about.
This is the third
time.
iteration
everybody.
of
But
the-
they have come, but
But they can't
They've
ever
come
explain
twice.
it.
They didn't understand, they presented diagrams that were not approved. And DOT,
It's still wrong.
Go to the bathroom.
this is a DOT issue.
and they never came back and told us whether they were taking down that structure.
Oh, well, they said that the structure is, the wood frame is a purpose for holding the awning, it's removable, and because it's not attached to the building, that it's legal.
No, that's
no, it's not true.
I can't be.
What,
that
wait, what?
question.
Wood frame, purpose to hold awning only, is removable and not attached.
No, we.
That has to be approved by DOT. Has to be approved by DOT.
That would have Susan's approval.
Okay, so if we decline them for both, then they both have to go to public hearing. And then we can get that, we can figure that out.
Let's do it. Can I make a motion?
Call the question.
So
It
this is,
was,
hold on, we have to go through everything.
What's that?
The hours and everything.
I thought
We have them the hours.
Yeah, but this is a new committee, it's a new thing.
That's okay. We have the old hours that we had.
And that's
we-
fine.
This is what they're,
I have a
this is what
comment
they're
on the
presenting.
hours.
Not so late.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom
Yeah.
lightning fast. So.
This is what they're presenting for this portion of that.
Okay.
These hours
Yes.
is fine.
The hours, no, the restaurant is usually closed at 9 o'clock. There's no one over there. My concern is that they are going to try to do some sort of a bar situation. And I would reject the 12 a.m. based on that demographic in that part of Greenwich Street. There, I mean, there's nobody there.
You want to just do 11 o'clock,
That's
6 days a week?
What happened to?
Why are we letting?
And 10 o'clock on
And
Sunday?
that's
I thought 9:30 was last service for outdoor.
No,
tables.
no.
No,
Really?
it's later.
I
It's
would say
midnight.
9:30 or
I mean,
10.
there are people living on that second floor.
I mean, it's not, hey, we've done it. in
Okay.
other restaurants. Yes.
I mean, it's okay that we've done those restaurants, but I'm talking about location. We had to take that into consideration. And
Hours.
to our point before, we are here to represent like
Sunday's always.
my new community.
Yeah,
So like
I would vote 9:30 in this part of the neighborhood.
9:30 or 10, I
You're
would
gonna
get
get-
10.
We've given them later.
Right.
We have.
So
We're gonna get.
There's no one ever there, so it didn't go wrong. It's just weird. Like,
well,
the
but then
place,
they can do a private party until like 11. That's
well, I'm concerned.
And then they're gonna be partying outside at 11 o'clock
Have they been?
on Wednesday,
Have they been?
On Greenwich.
and then you're gonna be getting 311
But
complaints.
have they been partying outside?
No.
There's been no parties.
If there is a football game,
Their hours.
if there's a basketball game, they have TVs outside.
They
Outside?
cannot
Yeah.
have TVs, they have to have TVs.
Well, that's what they got, because that's what I watched. some
Whatever
football
they
games.
have right now has to go with the, once they get.
So
that
why don't they
permit.
pay
Declining them because none of the stuff that they have currently are compliant.
Correct.
Yes.
Right? They have a shed, they have carpet, they have
TVs.
walls, they have TVs. We're declining them for all of this,
Yes.
right? Even though they're saying, because they are still currently operating as if no new rules exist.
And they,
And it was supposed to have already come down.
right,
Yes.
and they're rule breakers already. Why do you think they don't start following already?
Say it's an eyesore. I mean, I think that it's just collecting trash.
It's come down.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
still out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was supposed to be the
Robin might be gone.
like everybody else.
Robin might be gone, because I feel like I remember, I think Robin might be gone, because I remember there was
I saw it.
talk about it.
Their
Oh, great. But I remember them talking about, or comments talking about how it finally came down, because it was such an eyesore, and so.
a huge indoor space, don't they?
Every indoor space.
And so it's like
We don't agree with
a
that.
40 on the road and it's another, it's a lot, Jim.
All right, so did we get everything that we wanted for our disapproval?
So we're,
Also, do we even have quorum right now?
yes,
Yes,
yes.
of course.
Who would
We do.
Trust without quorum.
So we have Sunday, yeah, Sunday is 10, we're saying 11 o'clock. Sunday through Wednesday, 10 PM, and then Thursday through Saturday, 11 PM.
Yes.
Okay,
No TV.
No
Yeah.
TV.
TV.
right?
Even though Brenda
We're
got
declining
out.
them. Well, but they currently have them, so we're
Yes,
declining.
remind them.
All right,
Call the question.
Second,
all in favor of declining them?
This is for decline.
Declining.
Is Vicky on there?
Vicky, are you voting?
3, 4, 5, 6, we can't, no, we got,
4, 5, 6, 7. Shit,
we gotta wait for me.
You gotta wait for me.
I told y'all, I know how to count. You
to 10.
I apologize.
Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're back. He's out.
Or the
I also
bathroom.
went to the bathroom.
So now we have quorum, I believe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We can count Vicky.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah. Quorum. What was Vicky's vote?
Vicky agrees with us.
I'm going exactly with Susan.
What are you guys voting on this? We're doing a negative, we're denying it because of their neighbors.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow night. Hey, listen, from full board, I would really like to get out by 8:30.
Come on time.
Come on time, start on time, let's get out of there.
And don't let the politicians.
Me neither.